城区，到边疆区，到祖国最需要的地方去，就是就到哈龙半农村来了，然后成龙边疆翻地翻修嘛。你看现在10年过去了，等于兜了圈子，又回到上海了，也就等于一无所有了，啥么回到上海了。现在现在到上海了，哪能办？工作没着了，到了屋里向安顿，这一席之地哪能？
This year flew so quickly. It is New Year's Eve. Mum and I are alone at home. That is when my mother announced the shocking news to me. She was getting married. Her fiancé was her boss. The noise of the fireworks went on all night. I was lying on my bed thinking about my mother's words. I have my destiny. Your father has his. Do not blame me.
就侬老是保存下去，就讲侬好像一直觉着，搿口气咽勿下去，哪能样子？然后每趟晓得一眼新的消息，或者侬刚听到一眼啥消息，侬就来帮我讲，或者侬要去接电发挥，或者哪能样子。
侬既然有这种想法，对我有这种看法，那么我也不想再跟侬讲，啊，侬晓得老板到长沙去过几趟？啊，我讲拨侬听，实际侬要听我讲话，我目的，侬有机会应该多跟㑚妈妈讲讲，迭个人，迭个老板。
啊，我的态度是，㑚自家去选择㑚自家欢喜的，我帮我搭界，只要㑚过得开心，随便㑚去选择啥人去。
侬记得我老早讲过句闲话。
是吧？
侬可能已经忘记脱了。如果 侬和这个老板有接触，或者侬认可伊，那么偏偏我跟侬讲，我今朝要跟侬到此为止。
My father's words made me want to both laugh and cry. I had tried to see the love in him, but instead he had shown me his hatred. But what I did not tell him is that after discovering my mother's secret, I realized that I could not understand her at all. Every day I work overtime to keep busy. Home for me has become some sort of hotel where I spend the night. The past was like a dream. When the dream ended, I didn't know if my parents got what they wanted. I don't know. There must be a part of truth in the lies, and lies in the truth. Maybe that's what life is all about.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
The lives that go unnoticed, the reality of addiction, the truth that is ignored, stories of inspiration. 101 East brings you the lives of the people of Asia. 101 East, at this time on Al Jazeera.
A story of a land that never stops from giving its children hidden treasures. We foster innovation and create bonds between people, between nations. Nurturing the land under a ceiling of durable love. Fulfilling every generation's needs and thrive to cherish them. We help building skills and are proudly part of building our nation. From the mysteries of the desert to the wide open seas, with never-ending stories to be told, creating bonds of life and preserving it. Capco, in just about everything.
This is Al Jazeera.
Welcome to the News Hour, live from Doha. I'm Anand Naidu. It's 23 hours GMT from Al Jazeera news centers in Doha and Washington. These are the main stories. Air attack on AlJazeera. Residents claim the Libyan Air Force bombs an ammunition dump east of Tripoli.
Colonel Gaddafi's brutal attacks on his own people are unacceptable and will not be tolerated.
Ratcheting up the pressure against Libya, the U.S. tells Muammar Gaddafi to surrender power now.
I'm Jane Dutton in Washington, where senior officials are sending a clear message to the Libyan regime.
Now is the time for Colonel Gaddafi to step aside to prevent further bloodshed.
The U.S. government repeats that all options remain on the table, and on the top of their list, a no-fly zone.
Banned from travel and his assets seized, Egypt's top prosecutor makes a move on ousted President Hosni Mubarak. And sentenced to life in prison, a former security officer from the United Kingdom is convicted of murder in Iraq. Pressure on Muammar Gaddafi to resign is gathering momentum as the international community tells him it's time to go. But the Libyan leader is showing no sign of heeding their calls as he continues to clamp down on protesters in an attempt to quash any dissent against his rule. It comes as the international community meets in Geneva to discuss the ongoing crisis in Libya. Dan Nolan reports.
Panic sets in on a highway near the eastern Libyan town of AlJazeera. Anti-government fighters try to divert traffic after what they say was an aerial attack from Muammar Gaddafi's forces.
Jets are bombing us. In every raid they dropped 4 bombs. They attacked AlJazeera from 4 different locations.
There's another explosion in the military. Sweating military. You can see the smoke from there.
These pictures were filmed by Associated Press on Monday. Witnesses said the target was an ammunition dump taken over by opposition forces. As they wait with rocket-propelled grenades for a follow-up attack, a former Air Force pilot who's joined the rebel ranks made this plea to control Colonel Gaddafi.
Whether it is the European Union or the Arabs or America or even Russia, we ask them to just shut down this man's airspace. We are capable of taking him out by ourselves, but we are only requesting the international community to enforce a no-fly zone.
And he may be getting his wish, with the Pentagon announcing on Monday it's, quote, moving US warships closer to Libya in case they are needed. It's the kind of air power required to enforce a no-fly zone over a country where fierce ground battles continue. This amateur video was uploaded on social media on Monday and is said to show fresh battles at Misrata Airport, a sprawling airbase that each side now partly controls. AlJazeera cannot independently verify it or another uploaded video said to show the aftermath of battles at the same airport on Sunday. Misrata is 200 kilometres to the east of Tripoli, its strategic value possibly best explained by the huge amount of ammunition left behind. Another key airbase at Benin is now firmly in the hands of the opposition, with all Air Force staff said to have joined the uprising.
The whole base responded to my call to join the People's Revolution. We have great staff. As military personnel, we want to be clear that this is not a military coup. We are not leading anything. This is a people's revolution led by the youth. Our role is to protect and support it. That's our main aim.
Away from the headline towns, it appears that little places too are quietly realigning themselves. This Facebook video is said to be from Zintan. It's southwest of Tripoli, where Gaddafi has assumed control for decades. Dan Nolan, Al Jazeera.
It's not only the European Union that's turning up the pressure on Libya. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told the UN Human Rights Council that Gaddafi must go. And now China and Russia have added their voices, calling for the Libyan leader to be prosecuted for war crimes. Nick Spicer has this report from Geneva.
Behind the concern and outrage, there was also a certain level of surprised satisfaction here on Monday. Without a single voice of dissent, the Human Rights Council had asked for Libya to be suspended and ordered an international investigation into the crackdown.
The international community is speaking with one voice, and our message is unmistakable. These violations of universal rights are unacceptable and will not be tolerated.
Even the countries who usually put state sovereignty over human rights lined up in agreement over the weekend, approving sanctions against Colonel Gaddafi and his entourage, as well as possible prosecution for war crimes.
And so, to Colonel Gaddafi, we say this: the Libyan people are saying go, the people of the Arab world are saying go, the peoples of the entire world are saying go, and for the sake of humanity, go now.
But if there is rare diplomatic unity over Libya, there is also recognition that much more needs to be done, that this is also a humanitarian crisis. The head of the International Red Cross told Al Jazeera that some of the elementary rules of armed conflict are not being followed.
We have seen that. We have credible report about ambulances being used to carry weapons or things like that, and that's a very major concern, because I think we think that's a question of life and death. Medical staff, ambulances need to be respected. They need to be able to do their work. It's not the case so far in Libya, especially not in the western part of Libya. And I really call to every people involved in violence to be able to really allow us to do our work and to allow all humanitarians to do their work in Libya. That's very important.
The U.S. is pushing Europe to take a lead role in the crisis, and the EU on Monday agreed to apply the UN sanctions. There is a recognition as well that the humanitarian and refugee crisis developing in Libya could affect Europe.
We're trying to respond in real time to the crisis and, of course, to avoid the civil war that we fear, and making contingency plans to respond to the potential flow of refugees to neighbouring and to European countries.
Sanctions and rhetoric, however rapid, will only take the world so far. A far bigger challenge if the international community is to stay united. Nick Spicer, Al Jazeera, Geneva.
Our correspondent Hada Abdelhamid has the latest from the city of Benghazi in eastern Libya, which is now in the hands of the opposition.
People here in the east are really doing their best to try to organize themselves at different level, whether it's the administration level or trying to bring some sort of normalcy back to the cities here, trying to keep the security very, very tight. At the moment, everything is at a standstill. Schools and universities are still shut down. And people do feel that at the moment they might be at a sort of a deadlock. They don't know how things will unfold, whether the uprising will keep its momentum or whether the violent confrontations that are happening in the west of the country will make many people shy away. So certainly they're here in the east looking at the west to try to figure out out what is the next step. Many people here say that they want to go to the west of the country to help out there, but it is a very difficult journey for them. It is also a very risky journey for them. They'll have to go through the hometown of Gaddafi. That means they will have to meet face to face with some of his elite paramilitary forces, which are much better equipped and much better